Alina Wright, track and field coach. I call her the rose among the thorn. Alina, how did it started? Tell me how it started for you and why track and field.
Well, I grew up in a predominantly track and field household where my mom did track, my cousin did track, my aunt did track. What I mean, I mean, said cousins, I should say, cousins did track. So almost, all my family members did track. My mommy going to almost every champs, every Gibson. Oh, it started for me in terms of coaching. I think I got my break in 2018 when a friend of mine suggested that I assist with the Calabar distance team in December of 2018. And that's where it really started for me.
So, who was your inspiration? We know how it started, but was there any inspiration, meaning a coach that you model or anything like that?
I wouldn't say it's really any inspiration from a particular person. It's just my love for track and field and me wanting to say, all right, can I realistically improve this sport? And I decided to give it a shot, mainly in the middle distance because I love that discipline.
To become a track and field coach, do you need formal training? Is formal training important? Meaning going to school to study? Is it really important?
It is important to some aspect because I mean you still have to do the hands-on, and some people are more hands-on than going to school. The certification though allows you more opportunities in terms of getting work outside of Jamaica and even getting work in other schools are more predominantly winning schools. So you would be, what is the word I'm trying to use now? So you would get better opportunities when you are certified or qualified. But that doesn't say you can't get opportunities without the certification. You just you'll be more recognized with it.
What are some of the challenges you faced as a woman in a what you would call a male-dominated field, if any?
I can't say I faced any,
Not
really.
yet. Not yet.
Not yet, but I've not really come upon any or any that is any major issue. Sometimes they'll be like, "Are you a coach?" But outside of that, I can say that I am respected by my peers that I, come across and communicate with. And I have a good rapport with a lot of the coaches from other schools. So I've not had any hiccups yet.
I'm glad that you said that. So we're going to segue a little bit into this profession that you're in. Many would consider it, and the data is there to show it, that it is a male-dominated profession. Why did you choose a male-dominated profession as opposed to something else, coaching netball or some other sport that is?
I am not I'm not a netball person. I couldn't tell you the first thing there is about netball. But as I said, I love track and field. And I want to make changes or be a part of the changes that we want to see in track and field. And it being a male dominated field doesn't really do much or say much because there's a lot of us females and we're kicking it, you know, we're really taking our place in this industry. So I wouldn't say it is male dominated, but it's not hard.
I'm happy to hear that. What system do you use to establish authority and to command respect from your male peers or colleagues?
My face. Um, like I can be very serious. They tend to say that I'm miserable, but it's not really miserable. I'm just a bit on the side with it. When it's work time, it's work time. As I said, I've never really had any issues. Maybe because I'm a people person, I've never had issues in terms of command and respect. I go to work. Good morning, Coach Alina. Good morning. I've never had to say I have to command respect because for the people that I work with and the people that I interact with, for them, respect is something that you're given. You cannot earn it, but you can lose it. So I'm not have any issues or to say that I have to command respect because once you're a coach and they see you working, they will respect you and take the hats off to you and be like, Alina, you're doing a good job. I like what you're doing. So I've never really had to say I have to command and respect like that.
Okay, so it sounds like you're at a good place, and so you actually get support from your male colleagues and stuff.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Have you ever experienced instances of maybe sexism or discrimination in pursuing this career? Meaning somebody tell you that, oh, this is not a woman's world and a woman cannot coach track and field or coach boys as you do?
No, the most they would say is like, how do you manage? And I'm like, the boys are not difficult to coach, so it's easier for me to communicate with boys because that's what I've always known growing up. So it's easier for me. So I've never really, I don't know.
Other women who would want to get into coaching track and field, because of course you coach in Jamaica, we don't have a lot of female coaches. I'm
No,
sure
we
we
do,
have more,
we
but
do have, we have quite a few, quite a few.
how would
We,
you encourage? What kind of advice would you give other women? Suppose somebody walk up to you and said, Alina, I admire what you're doing and I want to be a part of this. What kind of encouragement would you give that person or advice?
I normally tell them if you're really interested, go for it. The first thing you can do if you're uncertain is you can find a coach that is willing to tutor you. That's hands-on. So you can, I call it shadowing. So you can shadow somebody, you can come around the team, look, learn, observe, see, look at the different approaches because I mean, you probably not, yeah, you probably haven't chosen which discipline you're interested in. So you can come and you can shadow the long jump, shadow the discus, and learn all the aspects and see if this is something that you really want to do. Learn the highs and the lows, the ins and the outs, and then you can make an informed decision to say, all right, this is something I'm really interested in, this is something that I can actually do and do well.
Is it easy?
Certification can come for me, but I mean, you first want to know that this is something that you really want to do.
Is it easy though? Coaching track and field or any sport, but you're in track and field, so we're going to stay there. Is it an easy job
No, no,
where
it's not. It's not. But I mean, it's rewarding because remember, you work with people and you have different personalities, and all of this will clash on any given day. Or today you will come and somebody just not in the mood to run, and no matter what you say, they will not move. You have to find a way now to get them to say, listen, you have to move. This is what, remember your goals, remember what you want to achieve. And you have to find ways and means of encouraging them. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. But you have to do what you have to do.
I like the fact that you say that because we're now going to segue into the real deal. You coach boys. And as you just explained a while ago, how do you approach building trust and rapport with your boys?
Let me see. Normally, when we have for the new boys, when they come in, for me, they normally hear about me before they get there. So they're like, if anything, you have to go to Auntie Alina. Auntie Alina, Auntie Alina will deal with it for you. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't throw me under the bus. And for some reason, when I get there, they're like, first of all, they normally call me first, even before the training starts. They're like, hi, Auntie, this is so and so and so from, I'm just coming in. I got your number from one of the boys over the summer, and I just want to introduce myself. Or when I get there, the introduction will be done. I like to have one-on-one with them either before or after training, and introduce myself, tell them what is it that I expect of them, and then we kind of say, well, what I normally do with these boys, so I ask them to write their aims for the season, not just academic, not just track and field, athletically, but academically as well. And then we kind of work towards that. And I tell them that, hey, we're going to work towards this, but the work has to be done. And if you have any problem, come to me. And from there, we kind of just start, step by step, piece by piece, until we get to where I can't get a break from them.
So you're known as Auntie Alina. So that
Auntie
means
Alina for the boys, Coach Wright or Coach Alina for the other coaches.
for your colleagues. So these boys already, before they even come into your system, they kind of build up a relationship
Some of
with
them, yes.
you that
Yes.
would make them very comfortable for them to interact with you. So it's easy for you to get their respect then. You don't have to work for it.
Some of them, because my first instance when I went to Calabar, there was this young man when I was introduced, and they were told that she's going to take over from the person that is no longer there. The young man is like, she can't do that. And I'm telling you, no joke, by January, this was in December, by January, this boy is joined to me by the hip.
Wow.
Mhm.
So
Because
he
as I said, I tend to just talk to them, whether before or after training. I ask questions. I let them know that, hey, whatever it is, you can come to me. If you're having issues and you can't even, say for instance, you can't come to training, you can reach out to me. If it is that you're not comfortable telling me what is going on, just let me know you can't come due to emergency. And whenever and if ever you feel comfortable, I am all ears. And for that, they tend to love that. I give them the go ahead and the choice and the option to be themselves, and to don't have to worry about them coming and having to tell everybody their business, if it's not something they're willing to share or ready to share. So and you have to build trust, and trust me, when they tell you something, you better keep it.
Wow, interesting. So they build up that kind of relationship with you where they feel safe and they feel confident enough to come to you and talk to you when they're having issues and stuff. Did you deliberately choose to coach boys as opposed to girls?
Not really, because as I said, the opportunity to coach the boys came when a friend of mine suggested that, I look into assist with the middle distance program at Calabar. And being a long time fan, I said, okay, well, I'll give it a go. And when I went there, Mr. Messias, Errol Messias, who is the middle distance coach there, he was very welcoming. I was like, I'm happy to see you. I will, I look forward to working with you. And let me tell you, that man went over and beyond to show me the ropes. Even now, he's like, this is how we're going to do it. This is what we're doing. And we sit down and we plan. And he never leaves me out of anything. So we are a team. So if the boys are not even comfortable with telling me, they will tell him. And what they won't tell him, they will tell me. And together we have a whole story. And then we can work at fixing whatever issues we're having with the boys. And that's what I said. Listen, and it's worth it.
It's
So,
a family. It's like a family affair.
yeah.
Are the boys obedient? How obedient? Are they disciplined? How do you get them to do their drills and stuff? Do you get them to go on the first instruction, or you have to
No, you
be?
have days. You see, everything is it depends. On a day-to-day basis, it can vary. Because today you will come and they'll be ready and they're ready to go, and you say, all right, warm up, stride out, whatever, and they will be ready. The next day, it's like you're talking to a wall. And then not until you're on the point of say, okay, everybody go home. Did you see everybody running to the line, or everybody falling in line, or because they're boys, and children first of all, so they're going to behave like children no matter what. Some will have more discipline than some, because I remember when we had Benson and the Rivaldo and the Kimar, we didn't have to tell them it's training time. Make sure you warm up. Make sure you stretch. When it comes to even their rest period, these boys were on time. They start their rest period with 20 seconds to go. They're at the line. They're ready to go. So when the rest period is up, you just have to say go. So they were what I would call discipline, and they respected their craft for what it was. But then you won't have everybody like that. So some of them you have to teach them and you have to explain to them what it is that is required, and how say they have goals. So you have to explain to them that without discipline, you will not achieve your goals. No matter how talented you are, how talented you think you are, if you're not disciplined, if you don't put the work in, you will not get it. So the discipline is 50-50. Getting them to do the work, again, 50-50. Because as I said, sometimes they will turn up, they will be having off days, and some of the time them just need the mood to listen. But again, you have to find your niche, find something that works for you, and establish that. Again, if it is, as I said, something you just have to give them the day. You just have to give them the day. If they're not going to listen, I mean, you have to step aside, because again, you can't allow certain things to be a disease in the team, because if you allow it once, then it's going to happen twice, and then the others are going to say, but you allow John Tom to do it, why can't I do it? And you don't want that. So you know have to set boundaries, and you have to follow and make sure you stick to those boundaries, because the moment you break away from that, it will come back to haunt you.
You've coached upper school boys and lower school boys. How difficult or how easy was it to give instructions to the younger boys? We're talking about like lower school, first form, second form kind of thing, as opposed to boys in fourth, fifth forms. Was it
Funny enough,
different? Was it
no,
any
funny
different?
enough, it's kind of easier to give instructions to the lower school, because they're eager, and they're willing to learn. While sometimes the upper school is like, I know what I'm doing. So you're talking to them and you're like looking at them like, are you the coach? So for instructions, they don't get me wrong, they will take it, but the younger ones are more receptive for the most part. If you have an athlete in the upper class that is disciplined, then you will not have any problem. But for the lower class, I think for me, it's easier in some aspect to work with the lower schools. In some aspects. For the
Is
longer
it?
middle distance, we don't really have that much trouble some of the time. But then you will meet a batch of boys that they just won't do it. I mean,
Depends.
every day won't be
Won't be the
sunshine and
same.
daisies, yeah. So it just depends. So you will have, say for instance, this year I will get a batch of boys, and you'll be talking to them and you're getting nowhere. And then you're getting to the point where you're like, what is happening now? Why are these boys not listening? And then the following year, you get another set, and you're like, whew, what a relief. But
Wow.
it's a mixture, because they're children and different personality traits. And sometimes I think what happens at home and how their culture play a huge role in their behavior, and how receptive they are, and how they take commands or instructions. So that play a major role in what you're doing, because at the end of the day, now we have to also try and guide them away from certain social norms that they're accustomed to, because we're trying to get them to the wider world and the wider society in terms of scholarships and stuff. So you're trying to teach them that this is not acceptable. This is what is required, whether athletically or academically. These are the things that are required. So it, as I said, how they're cultured at home plays a huge part. And
I
sometimes with the lack of parental support plays even a bigger part in how you have to deal with the boys. And then you have some where it might be where the parents don't like when you talk to their child. Like if the child go home and say, Mommy, auntie shouted at me today. The mama will call and be like, why are you shouting at my child? But it didn't happen to me. I'm just giving you, an example. So those are things that happen, and you have to work your way through them. But I don't think it's so much harder, as again, it just depends on their situation. Sometimes you will get different reaction.
how do you determine which events you want to coach? You're doing middle and long distance, as opposed to sprinting. How did you choose this section of track and field?
Because I fell in love with the middle distance when I was watching Vicky Haley, the Baba, all of them middle distance. So that's really where my love came. Well, it started with Gabriel Selassie for me.
You're too
Watching
you're
him.
too you're too young to know Gabriel Selassie. Stop it.
See what? See what? No, man, no, I'm telling you, my love for the middle distance. Because remember, he's running long distance. This is not middle distance. He's running long distance. And he made it so interesting and fun. And that no matter what, normally those distance races, we in Jamaica in particular, we will be like, oh, this is a bathroom break, this is whatever. When this man was on the truck, which one, you didn't want any bathroom break. You want to see each lap, you want to see, because he was charismatic. And then came Bikili, and Bikili was just this like a firecracker. Tarnish the barber, the babyface destroyer. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. So that's where my passion, and I'm like, I want this for Jamaica. I feel pride watching them, and they're not Jamaicans, they're Ethiopians and so on. So I want this pride for Jamaica. We already have enough person in the sprints. That's oversaturated. Almost everybody coaching the sprints, but not enough in the long and the middle distance and the field events. So you find that, you know, people who actually do these events have a genuine love for it, because, you know, we want to see changes, and we want to kind of be the put Jamaica on the map in these events.
I'm glad that you say that, Alina, because I too have a concern when it comes on to the middle and long distance. And I would love to see Jamaica step up in this event. We've seen so many student athletes compete at champs and do well in these events. The 5,000, the 2,000, the 1,500. But why is it that we are not, and this is just based on your experience, why are we not transitioning
because
into...
well by our standards and well by international standards are two different things.
But why are
So
we
for
not
instance,
grooming? Why are we not training them to get to that standard?
it's easier said than done, you know, because then funded will come in, will have to come in place, because then remember, most of these people would train either at school and they don't have nowhere to go anywhere. Like, say for instance, you want to do altitude training, that will require you to get a bus and, you know, gas and somebody to take you there. And some schools cannot afford it, some school will not afford it. And, you know, so it takes money. Honestly, it takes money, and we're lacking in so many ways. We're lacking. Because as I said, the time in Jamaica, because we will have, say for instance, a young man running 352. 352 does not qualify you for the World Juniors.
In the 1,500.
In the 1,500. You know, running 15 minutes does not qualify you for the 5,000 meter. You have to be running, I think, 14, 18. So we're a long way off.
We've gone as low as what?
1438.
1438. So
with Kemoy Campbell.
Right. So talents like those, and I know what happened to Kemoy Campbell, but there are others who came, you know, close enough. Why is it that
we've never had anybody gone close to 1438. No,
1455. You wouldn't say 14.
But that's the second one. That's what I'm saying. No, I said close to 1455 is a long way off from 1438.
True.
It's a long way off.
True. But don't you think if we have a system, all right, like you said earlier, and I totally agree, because that is my argument, all the coaches who are busy coaching sprinters, if one of those same coaches say, okay, I am going to concentrate on the middle distance or long distance instead of sprinting, because we, as you said, sprinting is so saturated. To me, we could look somewhere else. We already have someone doing well in the field with the throwing and of course with jumpers. Why not someone else pick that up and say, okay, we are going to go middle and long and invest whatever money we are putting into another sprinting club into a middle and long distance club?
All right. It's easier again.
Easier said than done.
You have to look at it, you know, you have to look at the returns. Look at the returns. If you have a sprinter, sometimes the sprinters are not even running as fast as, you know, probably like a 9.92, but they're running like a 10.1. You will get more on your return. You will get more returns on them than an athlete that, you know, even if you invest in a middle distance athlete, it probably take a longer time for you to get any returns. And people are in the business to make profit and to make money, because at the end of the day, it's your job. So while it would be nice, and it is nice, that person would have to be somebody that genuinely loves middle distance. Because what you're saying, a sprint, somebody who's interested in sprints to take the money and put it in the middle distance.
Because you can get the glory. You can get the glory from anywhere. You can get the glory in the field.
But the work it will take is not the work. As I said, I think probably what we need to do is probably to come together and put our head together and say, how can we improve middle distance in Jamaica?
I agree with you totally.
But we are so individualized, and our ego will not allow us, for some of us, to do that. Because I don't want you know my secret, and you don't want me know your secret, and but
But
because
at the
this
end
this
of the
because
day,
this is an area that we're not really so popular in. If we could come together, I think all of us could come up with an idea and a plan and a schedule, not even a schedule, and
I
a
think we have the
program
brain power to do it. We
and
just
the
need to
program.
unite.
Yes,
Yeah. Hmm.
and because long and middle distance is not easy. And again, if you notice the Africans and them, most of them train at altitude so that the lungs expand and stuff like that. We're not training in an altitude. We're training
So
on the flat.
let me ask you something now. What are some of the things that we would need to put in place? What are some of the things that an athlete need to do in order to run middle and long distance at a competitive time?
As I said, it
A lot
depends
of
on
hill running.
it would huh?
A lot of hill running would have to be involved.
Hill running is one thing, but again, I say the structure of the program, because I could be running, I could give you a program today and you run good, but not good enough to compete there. So that you would have to first revise the program and how we do it, and probably temper how we do it also in high school, so that by the time they're ready to transition, they have not hit the plateau. They have not reached the peak of where the max, they are not maxed out, where they can't grow anymore. You understand? We have to be cognizant of that when we're doing high school programs and stuff. And sometimes that is an issue. But as I said, we'd have to structure the program in a way that it will yield results that can take them to the higher standard. Again, we would have to change the training and how we train. And most of us train at the stadiums, at like the schools and stuff. Hills is one thing, but again, I say you want to expand the lungs, work on the speed endurance a bit more and stuff like that. But coming together, it's not hard, it's just that it's about the funding and getting people who are interested in it beyond high school. Because even though sometimes you have athletes doing the event after, because some of them have to be working and stuff, you will not get the maximum out of them. And you have some overseas that have been training and they've been running, and the results might not be coming. But again, for some of them, they might have to be working. Sometimes the passion to be there 100% is not there, with the exception of probably like goal and so. So it's about probably finding the passion in them and pulling it out. Because after
Wow.
high school, the majority of the persons who does middle and long distance don't want to do it anymore. Some of them do just enough to get their degree and then say, this is it.
Wow. Then
So,
maybe they
so what we
switched.
have to first do is maintain interest right throughout. And if we can't achieve that, that's the first step. Because if they're not interested after high school and college, then we're going to be right back where we started. Because
So maybe
they will look good in high school and you say, yes, this is one for the future. They get to college and they're like, yeah, this is it.
and then they maybe step down to another event or something.
If
But you
they're
see,
still interested in sport, in track and field.
I think the work have to start with us first. And when I say us, I'm talking about coaches, federation, and all those people who are involved, the stakeholders, putting a program or a system together that will pull an athlete who maybe doesn't want to go to college.
Yeah,
And
but you have to make it attractive.
you have to make it attractive in order to get them interested. And sometimes you just have to start with one athlete.
Yep.
You just have to
That's what
start
it
with
is.
one, just have to find the success with one, and it will pull others.
Yeah, you
But
can build from that. Yeah.
yeah, but I think we can do it because that was where we started out, because back in 1948 at the Olympics, we won a silver medal in the 800 meter. We came back 1952, we won a silver medal again. So it's something that we can do, but as we're agreeing, we have to put the platform, lay out the platform, and make it attractive so that a young person leaving high school at maybe 18 will say, okay, I don't want to go to college. I'm not interested in that. Let me join this club and see if I can develop my craft after
But
maybe 2 or 3 years.
but it just speaks to the lack of growth. When you say the last time a medal was 1950 something.
No, yeah, 1952 was the last time we won.
And then what? But I've seen changes over the last few years, because I mean, when the 800 class one record broke, I was like, at least this is a positive sign.
Yes.
And then we've had another high schooler in Blake running 147 before he left school, and I said, even more positive sign. It's not the 144 or the 143, but it is a positive sign.
It is a start.
It is a start. So and then in the same breath we had Navaski coming through, and so on. So, and then I think currently we have couple 146 right now. Couple 146 with Tyrese Roden and all of them. So it is they are somehow keeping their dreams alive, and they're interested, and that is good for the sports, because when the younger ones see this now, and they can look and say, boy, I see Navaski running at the world champs, running the 800, or who being consistently running the 800 at the Olympics and the world champs. Mind you, falling short of a medal, but I mean, we have to see representation.
Yes.
Start with representation.
As a coach, if Jamaica is to get involved in middle and long distance, do you think the best place to train is in Jamaica, or we would have to take that club or that system outside of a Jamaica, like maybe somewhere in Africa or maybe in Mexico? Can we do it at home?
I mean, as I said,
high altitude?
we would have to put our heads together and figure that out, because we do have if we're worried about altitude, we have places here that does have offer altitude. We have gyms, we have track, we have facilities. It's just about getting it right and getting the right person in the right place and the right position to say, I'm going to make this change.
Yeah.
It starts with, and as I said, it starts with one, finding, because sometimes you're experimenting, and you're not getting anywhere, getting frustrated. But if you keep knocking on the door, it will open.
It will.
We just have to keep knocking.
It will. Have you always coached middle or long distance, or you've tried with the sprints? Can you do sprints? Or I know that your passion is middle and long distance, but
I can coach. Well, I was taught to coach all events. I used to help with hurdles over the summer for like athletes who want to continue training. I like the hurdles, but because of its technicality, it stresses me out. Not so much the coaching of it, but when the athlete has to compete, I don't think I'm made for that pressure. I am not. So I will stick to my middle distance.
How do you assess a potential athlete's success in a particular event? Let's say I come to you as a 100-meter runner. Can you look at me and how I progress and say, okay, I think you're better suited in an 800-meter?
Not necessarily, but what you can do is give them a time trial. Be it over the 8, you can give them either 800 or 1,000 meter, because I mean, sometimes these athletes literally has no fast twitch, but convincing them that they don't have no fast twitch is exhausting. But what we normally do is give them a time trial, and when they're done, we call them and we're like, how was that? How you feeling? And they're like, and I said, are you dying? And they're like, no. And you kind of check the pulse and stuff like that to see how they responded to running that particular time trial that you gave them. And then then you can say to them, I think you're more suited for this versus that. Because we've had let me see, we've had 1, 2, 3 persons coming over from the sprints this year. One of them making the semi-final of the class 2 800, Let me see who else came over. Yeah, another one only missed out because of personal best, coming over from the sprints.
Mm-hmm.
And they're running really well. It's just that at the end of the day, only two can go to champs.
Right, right, right.
But as I said, this started from them running time trial. And when they run a time trial, because if you are a 400-meter athlete, your coach is not going to give you a 400-meter time trial to begin with. He's going to give you a 600. Now, based on how you run that 600, when we do the math and we say, based on the 600 time, 200 more meters, and this person could actually run, probably 2 minutes or 1:59, and then you start to do the math. Because if you're going to say, for instance, I'm using a 120, 600. Bear in mind, you're not going to run that early season, but I'm just using it as an example. You run a 120, 600, we're going to say, okay, a 30-second 200 is going to give you 2 minutes. No, not 2 minutes, 150, that's a 150. But anywhere between 30 to a 35, 200, you're looking at a 155 if it's, a class 2 or a class 1. So you gauge if they can gauge them based on that and say, no man, this person can actually run a 800. They run a 125 600, you had a 30 or 30 cups, 30 from 30 upwards seconds to that for a 200, and you're like, yeah man, this will work.
So you basically, when you get a new batch coming in, you have to do some form of assessment in order to know where to
But
place.
even before most of them come and start training in September, there's normally a time trial. There's normally a time trial, because sometimes they will say, oh, John Tom running 12, but coach, sometimes worse if it's not, it didn't happen at the primary champs or somewhere where you witness it. You then have to make your own assessment. And sometimes you have a little diamond in the rough that somebody see running somewhere and say, I think the boy can run. And they bring him to you and they said, hey, and you said, all right, I'm going to give him a time trial. Be it over 150 or 250, a 600, 8 or 1,000, anywhere between there. And even for the 5,000, it's not like we find somebody that just directly run a 5,000. Again, it comes from time trial. It comes from how they look during training. And you say, no, this person is no, based on how this person is doing this. I don't think sprinting is working for them, because 800 is a sprint. So you might try them over.
800 is a sprint?
What do you mean?
800 is a sprint? Wow.
What is especially for the males, the world record is 140. So it is a sprint.
A sprint indeed.
It is a sprint.
A sprint.
It is a sprint. Because the aerobic endurance kicks in after the 800.
Wow.
It is a sprint.
As a coach, most times coaches, their job is to focus on getting you physically ready. Mental state, psychological preparations. How do you handle that as a coach? Describe your mental preparation before you enter like a training session or competition. Do you have to get yourself ready mentally? Physically, you might be okay, but how do you get yourself ready mentally?
I am here and I'm not mentally ready to go back. I need space. I need space. I need a breather. All right. For me personally, because I have such a good rapport with my boys, getting there to see them on a daily basis is not much of a task. You understand? The only issue, and it's not even an issue, the only thing is that from the moment I walk through that door, I hear rings. They run and they come through the line and they come and they're leaning up all over me. And I'm like, go up. I said, get up off the floor and walk. Do not come here and lean up. Auntie, but I want to lean on you. Listen. But mentally, probably for the track meet, that takes more toll on me, because I tend to tell myself that I have a weak heart and I don't like to see my boys failing, quote unquote. That breaks my heart every time. And because I know it breaks their heart, it's even worse for me. because you're there every day and you know the work that these boys put in. And when they go there and they don't get the desired result, bear in mind you're not going to show them or you're not going to tell them, but it hurts you so much that you have to psych yourself going up to this track meet. You'll be like, okay, today's going to be a good day. Today's going to be a good day. We can do this. You get there, you have your one-on-one with the boys, you have your group talk with the boys, and then you try to get them in the frame of mind to go out there and compete to the best of your ability. Because I normally say to them, it's not so much about even winning on the day, it's about giving it your best. So if you go out there and you run your best and you came fifth, but on the day that is your best, I can't ask for more. If you go out there with a personal best of 205 and you come and you give me a 203, that shows improvement and I can work and build on that. But me mentally, I'm a wreck going in. When the races are running, I'm a wreck.
So how do you mask that and not let the boys them see that, oh my God, coach or auntie, she's nervous, and kind of pushing that off on them? Oh, you smile, okay. That
And
is
I'm
a
like,
good technique. That's a good
and then
technique.
I'm like, hey, just do it. And I keep repeating the same thing over and over. Sometimes they're like, Auntie, we heard you the first time. And I'm like, I'm just ensuring that you heard me. I'm just ensuring. I don't want you to go out there and be afraid of anybody. I said,
Because you
and I
you
always
have
say
to
to them,
maintain your
I don't
cool.
show nobody no respect. I'm not showing that people don't deserve the respect. But because they go out there and they respect, for instance, an athlete too much, they're afraid to test them in the race. And they're afraid to be competitive. So now you're trying to get into their head that, hey, test them that while in your head, you're like, Jesus Christ, please don't let this go wrong. Please don't let this go wrong. Because sometimes they overthink and they overprocess things.
Yeah.
Right. And because as I said, I know my boys and I know how they operate. It worries me sometimes. Well, almost all the time. Champs, I was a nervous wreck. Even after winning and stuff, winning whatever races or any medals, I'm a nervous wreck.
Wow.
That's why I
Can
said
you
I
can
don't know.
you
That's why I couldn't go to the
imagine
hurdles.
can you imagine them out there? If you feel like that behind the scene, can you imagine how they feel when they line up with their main
And
rivals?
some of them mentally are stronger than anybody you'll ever meet. Some of them. While some of them they're so fragile, like you have to treat them with baby glove and you have to walk them through each race that they run. But at the end of the day, we're trying to teach them independence so that they can run said race without us. But it's not easy. And again, as I said, my heart is not mentally stable for it, but I have a job to do. And whether I am nervous and I'm falling down, I know that these boys are depending on me. So I'm gonna tell myself, we have to do this. You're going to get through this, and because you're going to get through this, the boys will get through this. And again, because I have support in Mr. Mess, it's not just on me. And then not just Mr. Mess, but the team and the boys and the other boys on the team are there. They are there. And as I said, because they see each other training, they know what to expect. So then you have all that support. Even though you're dying and you're being a wreck, you're still saying, you know what, we can do this. Because you're not in it alone.
How do you handle pressure from other coaches, your teammates, fans, the media? How do you handle
I
us,
don't know about fans and media, but
especially us fans who want our team to win? And
yeah, but I tune you guys out. I'm not here because the first thing first is everybody will have an opinion. Everyone will have an opinion, be it good or bad. And I have no problem with you giving me an opinion, but it will remain an opinion. Because at the end of the day, I have to do what I have to do. And I'm not going to sit here and have you confuse me and confuse the boys. No. If you say to me, I would rather this or that, and I said, okay, thank you for your suggestion, but this is what we're doing. And then even if it doesn't go the way, you'll be like, I told you so. Again, I say thank you. And I'm not saying that we can't take criticism, but not on the day of the track meet, you're going to come and you're going to know.
how do you handle
I'm telling you no, I'm going to shut it down.
a parent who want her child to compete? How do you handle that?
No, they don't. No. We don't get that. But I don't get that. I don't get that because I'm for the most part, I'm not saying all the time, for the most part, I tend to communicate with the parents. Not all the time, but for the most part. So normally I would say, Mommy, this is what so and so is doing in training. So and so will be running, or so and so will not run because of. Because if you're not running it, there is a reason. So I said I love parental when parents are involved. So then you can communicate with them and let them know that this is the situation. I am on the phone with a parent or parents or as an end explaining, talking to, letting them know that, hey, these are the things that your child needs to be doing. These are the things they are not doing. So your child will not be able to compete because your child has not been doing the required work. But no coach, no parent gets to dictate and decide who runs. Because again, the moment
Nor
you
the
come with it,
fans, nor the
no
fans.
the moment you come with it, it will be shut down. And again, we have a decisive head coach who no parent is going to come and tell him what to do. We, the coaches and the head coach, we make the decision, and the decision is what it is. The parent might think it's unfair, but at the end of the day, the parent is not at training. Make one more step. Some of them don't even come to the track meet or even watch the track meet before, during, or after. Well, during and after, I don't know where before came from. So, I mean, you will not know what your child is capable of. We would. And again, I say, this is why we train. We can only enter 2 per
Right.
event, and we have to enter the best 2 that we have. So your child might be good, but they might not be the best option. And at the end of the day, our decisions have to be made. It has to be made. And you can't choose somebody because they're your favorite or because you want them to run. You have to choose based on the logics and facts. This person is running 155. This person is running 2 minutes. Where realistically, I'm going to go with the 155 over the 2 minutes. So at the
Makes
end of
sense.
the day, as again I say, you can offer your suggestion, you can give your opinion. We will listen, as I said, in the training setting, not in competition. Training, you might say, Mommy or Auntie, John Tom is a bit on the fragile side in terms of mentally, because sometimes the parents will know. So then you have to take a different approach with said child. But outside of certain things, we don't. We don't encourage the parents to tell us how to do our job.
The media, as a coach, how does Alina handle the media when
I've,
faced with certain questions or criticism?
I've never been in the media. I've
Okay.
never been
Okay.
in the media.
Not yet, not yet.
Again, I say, remember, and I said Mr. Messias is in charge of the long and middle distance. I'm the second. So
So you
he
don't
will
have
get,
to face the media yet. All righty.
and I'm happy for that.
How do you maintain a positive mindset and can also fuel that to your boys when things are not going according to plan? Because we know how life is. You plan it one way and it take another turn. How do you maintain a positive
You see,
mindset?
because
The script is not working according to how you want it to go.
that was last year for us. Really and truly, that was last year. Last year was not our best year, but you know what? We always say there's always another day, and once you're there, you have the opportunity to do better. So even though today might fail and this season might fail, if you dwell on that failure, then you might as well quit. So now you have to take a positive outlook and say, all right, what went wrong last season? How do I move forward? How do I fix this? And again, this is where Mr. Miss and I normally put our head together and say, we did this. And because we keep track of what we do on a day-to-day basis, we can look at an athlete and say, between the year before and last year, this athlete did not improve much. And maybe it's because, they weren't doing their core work or they weren't doing enough training. They were absent too many times. You have to look at it in stages. But if you want to succeed, you have to understand that failure will come. And you have to say, okay, it is here, it hurts, but I'm going to have to bounce back because I'm coming out swinging the next season. And then if you are negative, the boys will be negative or the athletes will be negative. So you go into training, and no matter how disheartened you are because of the previous season, you have to take the bull by the horn for the coming season and say, listen, boys, last year was abysmal, because you have to be honest with yourself and honest with the boys. Last year was abysmal. This year we have to improve. So, like Mr. Bennett said, you came fourth last year, you're coming third this year. Improvement. We have to work to improve ourselves. So when the boys see you improving, they will improve. When you get to training on time, when you're there and you're willing to work with them even when they're not listening, and then you will have a one man and say, you see how hard auntie I try, you see how hard Mr. try. You're not gonna waste the coach time, not come waste the coach time. So now that will trickle down and become a ripple effect where everybody now starting to hold each other accountable. And then you now can come in now and say, all right, this is a nice place to start, and you move on. But
Academics and the sport is two things that seem to go hand in hand and they work
because
simultaneously.
they're student athletes.
Yes.
And I always tell them, you're student first. So no matter what you do, you're a student first, which means the grades must be up there. I mean, you won't always get A's, but you must maintain a standard, which is why I said one of the first things I do is ask them for their aims, not just in track and field, but academically. And some of them were like, I think for this year I got some of them wanting to achieve all their CSEC, some of them wanting to place first in class, some of them whose average was low the year before wants to improve their average, and some of them will even tell you how they plan on doing the same.
That's good.
So then that's why I said I had to take the approach where the goals are there, and then I said to them, what is happening here? What is happening here? Tell me about your reports, stuff like that. If they need help with schoolwork, I help. Because I'm not just a coach. I am there to guide, not just in track and field, but in life. And I want better for them. I want them to go as far as they can go. It doesn't have to be track and field, but I always tell them to use track and field as a key. Open the door.
Means to an end. How do you create a positive and empowering environment for your boys? What kind of strategies do you use to empower them, to let them know, look, you can be great?
As I said, we normally have meetings, and we normally speak to them about their strong points. We have treats for them when they go to track meets and they do well. They're treated, and we don't just treat the boys that does well. We treat everybody, but we just let them know that this treat is because John Tom did well. So, for instance, I'm using donuts. If we bought a box of donuts, the boys that ran personal best will get 2, and you who just started up and compete get 1. Now, next track meet, everybody want PB because everybody wants 2 donuts.
Wow.
And then for like when they are leaving, I normally do a little send off where I make plaques for them, and have a little thing where we eat and we talk to them about going off to college and encouraging the boys coming up to do better, and basically just uplift them. And we, as I said, have the boys speak to them about what they meant to them while they were there and stuff like that, and going forward what they think they can do to emulate said boys that are leaving, and if are do better.
Wow, a form of
and
mentorship.
Some of them look forward to the whole getting the plaque more than anything else, because some of them never get a medal. So them getting a plaque that says that, hey, I was a part of Calabar track team, and whatever is written on the plaque, because I normally have a nice quote written on it, and stuff. They look forward to this.
That's beautiful. That is actually a very good strategy because, as you said, at the end of that period, they are looking to get this thing, and it works. But
And after every track meet, Monday week, them I look forward to treat.
and then donuts. They're looking forward to their donuts.
Girl, them upgrade to KFC. She said donuts. My boys upgrade to KFC, miss, and pizza.
Wow. And
How
that's
much?
good. And that is good because at least you are empowering them to move up, to move up the ranks. And each time that they accomplish something, then they are given something better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Tell me about what is your most rewarding experience since you've been a coach?
I would say, let me see. I would have to go with Carifta Games last year, when the 5,000 for power. Why? Because at Champs, he was literally falling apart. And to come back, because he got the bronze at Champs, and to come back at the Carifta game and only lost out in the last, I think, 50, 60 meter. And, all while fighting and digging deep, you know. And considering that, again, that young man didn't had much work done prior to, because he started training late, So for him to come and all the work that we put in that short space of time and to see the reward, I don't think nothing so far. Nothing has stopped that so far.
Beautiful.
And bear in mind, I've been there where Benson winning and Farkis are winning, but that is more. I think that speaks more to Mr. Mess because he had them all this time. While, as I said, Power came late, so that was more. I was more hands-on with Power. I was hands-on with him right through in every aspect. I was hands-on. So when he, even the champs medal, I felt good. But the Carifta medal and the fight that he showed, that for me was my crowning moment.
But you won gold this year at Boys and Girls Champs with a young man. What's his name? Bryson. Carlos Bryson. I mean, it was an outstanding performance in the class. What was it? Class 3 boys, 1,500 meters.
And what I get that, but you have to remember again, I said Carlos has been training from August, September. He's been running good since the entire track season has started. And while I go, as I said, you feel good and you're happy. But I'm saying the crown, why I said Power was the crowning moment is the limited amount of time that we had to work with this young man and to get him going. You understand? And the treatment and the physios, because he had shin splint and he couldn't train well. So even though, bear in mind, he came late, and he still had to be missing training because he's having shin splint and all kind of aches and pain, and had to be going to this physio and this masseuse and all over the place. So I said it was like a project for me in getting him fit. And at Champs, because his body didn't have the body of work that is required to do 2 events, because he was doing the steeplechase and the 5,000. His body didn't have the body, the background training to manage. But he didn't finish the steeple, but he finished the 5,000, got a bronze medal. And I think we had Champs was, I know, Carifta was 1 week after. And I think it was, definitely 1 week after. And I had to get, and then, I got the physio to work with him and look at him and, figure out what was going wrong, why, his body wasn't recovering, and then sorting that out and, going there and seeing him run. And I was speaking to him before, and then when he ran, when he came second, he ran all the way to bleachers to find me, and he was like, Auntie, I left it too late, but we get the medal, so.
Beautiful, wonderful. I'm glad you touch injuries. Let's talk about injuries a little bit. Do you think that medical practitioners can examine an athlete and pick up those and pick up potential injuries before they actually happen?
Medical practitioner.
Yeah,
Because
like
the
doctors
thing is,
can.
you go to a doctor, and it depends on what you go to a doctor for. Because you can go to a doctor and they're not looking for an hamstring injury, because you didn't go there for an hamstring injury. But you go to, bear in mind, they can find it if you say to them, hey, my hamstring is hurting me. Most of the time they will recommend the MRI if they themselves cannot pinpoint, or if you have to come back. I think more sports doctor, those who train in recognizing sports injuries, for me would be a better fit. Not to say that as you said, the general practitioner or whatever cannot do it. I'm saying that a person who is trained in something would be better suited to identify certain injuries or injuries quicker. Not that others won't, it's just that these people would be quicker at identifying, and then in turn finding solutions. So we're going to say, all right, we're going to treat it. And then after treatment, we're going to either do massage therapy or physiotherapy. You need to go and see a chiropractor because you're out of alignment. You understand what I'm saying? So, because injuries will come. This is sports. It will come. But we have to assess it. And then from assessment, then with the treatment, and then from treatment with the recovery.
As a coach, how do you feel about an athlete being injured and still asked to compete?
I don't like it. That's why for me, the moment sometimes they said, oh, you're spoiling them. The moment they tell me that, listen, I'm in pain. Hey, doc, can I send John Tom to you? If they're lying, I will know. If they're not lying, I will know. And then for the most part, after that, I would say to the doc, so what do you recommend? Because sometimes it will just be a flare up where they will just get anti-inflammatory. But and then I would say to the doc, for me, this is me personally, what do I do from here? Do you recommend that they do massage therapy? Do you recommend that I take them to a physio? Sometimes the doc will set up the physio appointment even without letting me know at first, and then he'd call me and be like, Alina, I have set up a physio appointment with so and so for so and so. And I'll be like, okay, so what was your findings that led to the recommendation of a physio, and so on. Sorry. So I take even them telling me that them head hurting serious. I take very seriously because you never know what triggers what.
True, true.
You never know. And I used to do sports. Do not ask me what I used to run. I used to do sports. And it's one of the worst things when you tell somebody that you're in pain and they tell you that you're lying. Bear in mind, some of these boys, you can know when they're lying. Because some of them
Yeah,
will be
because
like,
some of
oh,
them will do it to get out of training or.
listen, some of them will come and tell us that they can't do nothing. When you look, you go up there, you see them play football. So now tomorrow when training come, I don't care if you're dying, you're going to die on this track. So there's exception to everything, because you have boys that you will literally come and see them and they don't see you. You see them doing certain activity and you're like, So this young man said he's feeling, because if you're feeling a certain level of pain that you can't even warm up, you should not be doing this activity that you're doing now. So I'm going to let you know that, hey, I want you to see at my training and I don't want any crying today, and you're going to complete the program. But if it is I don't witness any of the above, you're going to the doctor and they will follow in the process.
Wow.
But
How do
you have to
you?
take it serious. You have to take injury serious.
Yes, I
And the
totally agree.
earlier, the better, because then if it is an athlete that you want to compete at a major championship, you can't wait until close to the championship to say, crap, this is really serious. He's still crying or she's still crying. Because then you'll be in trouble, because then feel in an athlete that is still injured. So the earlier you deal with an injury, the better.
And of course, you have some injuries that are more serious than some. I mean, we're talking about groin injuries, we're talking about hamstring, the different injuries. Some take forever, some never
Well,
recover.
the groin injury doesn't stop you from running so much. I'm not saying it's not painful. I'm saying it doesn't stop you from running. But the hamstring and the quads and You're going to need to sit this one out. You need to see a doctor. Doctor might recommend an MRI, or depends on what is going on. You understand? Certain injuries are more severe than others, and you have to take, especially the hamstring and the quad injury, very seriously. Not that the hamstring is not, I'm just saying it doesn't prevent you from running. I personally don't want you to run with a groin injury. I'm just saying it doesn't stop you. But the hamstring, no, you're not coming on my track. Quad, no, you're not coming on my track.
Very serious.
It is. Because these are the areas that the tear takes place the most. These areas, you don't want to come out here and then you had a grade 1, and because you are stubborn and I was stubborn, it becomes a grade 2 or 3 or above. No.
Based on your experience, an athlete who repeatedly gets injured, he's injured this week with an hamstring or whatever, and he rested out and he came back after he recovered and everything, and he's injured again. In your opinion?
Rested how? Rested with treatment, or because the thing is, some of the time an athlete will tell them to rest for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I would rather active rest where you're activating every other muscle except the one that is hurt. But again, coming back without treatment for me does not help with recovery.
So just
Because
stay at home and
when you get a tear or anything, there's going to be scar tissue build up, and that has to be dealt with, or else that's not going to help. And then at the same time, you need to find out what caused said injury, and then if you don't fix that, because all we do is fix the branch, we just keep fixing the branch and sticking leaves on the branch. Find the root, deal with the root. And then because what happens when we don't deal with the root is when athletes keep getting injured, now the athletes develop a mental block where they will get, say for instance, they're running a 400 and they pulled up right with 100 meters to go. Every time they get to that 300 meter, the monkey is going to climb on his or her back and it's going to tell them that, no, you feel pain, no, you cannot do this.
So it's
because it becomes a psychological problem now, because every time they run they get hurt, and because we never go to the root, we just want the stem or the branch or the leaves, it becomes a more serious problem. So instead of just being, so now you have two problems. You have a mental problem, you have a physical problem. So I believe whatever it is, no matter how long it takes, deal with the root.
So as a coach,
and then if you find that the athlete is lacking in confidence and you can't help them, find somebody who can. Normally I ask for boy to help me and like reach out to like a psychiatrist. And I ask that the boys who are having problems getting over certain stuff to be sent there, because I believe that you have to fix them mentally as well as physically. Because it don't make no sense. You're 100% fit and your mind tell us you can't do it. You will not win.
Yeah, somebody recently told me that sport is at least 80% mental.
It is. Because you could be as fit as you can and as the fittest you'll ever be. But if you don't believe that, and if your mind and your body is telling you that something is wrong or something will go wrong, it will go wrong. Wow. And you might not complete the race, or if you did, it will be way below what you are capable of.
So psychological preparation, how important is it in sport?
It is probably one of the most important aspects of it, because again, anybody can get fit. You and I can get fit. That doesn't mean you and I can run. But as an athlete, you can be as fit as you want to be. But if you are not mentally prepared to run a race, especially coming back from an injury or even a devastating loss, nothing you do will make sense, because then they run and they mess up the race because they're not mentally prepared. And you go back to training and you say, what happened? And then in training, they're firing. And you're like, but this person is in, for instance, a female, a 10-9 shape. So why should go to run 11-3? Because she's mentally, she's not there.
A
In
coach told me,
training,
yeah.
training is not competition. So in training, she's going to give you all that you require. But when she gets to competition, the mind shuts down. So you know have to find somebody that can get in there and open it up.
A coach told me something similar recently, that his female athlete, she was doing so well. She did well in regional competition, training and everything. And when she got to champs, you know, she did not perform, you know, to the best of her ability. And when he said to her, what happened? You know, she said when she looked to her left and to her right, she was seeing an athlete from Edwin Allen or an athlete from Homo Technical, and she froze.
It happens, yeah. And that's why I said to you, I always say to my boys, don't show anybody any respect. I don't care who they are or how good they are.
But sometimes your friends,
they're not going to beat you.
sometimes their friends do it, you know, because this same athlete I'm talking about, when she was talking to her coach, she said somebody come to her before she run and said, you know who in your heat? An ex from Edwin Allen, you know, a wife from that school, and it got to her head.
I've had to say to them, listen, when the boy said, Auntie, who in them eat? I said, it doesn't matter. But John Town said, and I said, it does not matter.
Yeah,
because you have to beat who is in front of you. In order to advance, in order to win, you must beat who is in front of you. So if you're worried about, say for instance, you get a Serena Cole and you're worried about Serena Cole. So because you're worried about Serena Cole, you're not going to run.
You're already defeated.
I want to make the final. I don't care if you're Serena Cole.
It's a real thing, you know, Alina. It's real, you know, it is very much real. Athletes come to championship, and when they see a certain school jersey, they lost it.
But funny, and you know, as I said, you know, sometimes we have to talk to the other teammates too, more than even the athletes, because they're the ones who drive their negativity too. Yes. And you have to remember, these are your friends, and if your friends are panicking and they're making you panic, then when you go there, you're going to panic.
And this is why the psychological preparation is very extremely important. And I'm not sure if we treat it as important. I think we more focus on, okay, physically, okay. And as a boy, as a class 1 boy, you can run 10-2. So that's what we're focusing on. But
I think we're like, you train hard. So you must go out there, go do it. You should be able to go out there, go do it. While neglecting to
prepare them here.
To think about the fact that this athlete is panicking, this athlete is having a breakdown. How do I fix this first?
Yeah.
You know, we're so focused on them just going out there to compete that we don't think about what they're internalizing, all the emotions and all the things. Because again, you know, no matter what we think, you have to first remember that athletes, they're going to experience fear. And as you said, certain school will drive fear into you.
Just by seeing their kids.
And then because sometimes, for instance, too, you have probably in a track meet leading up to champs, say that you probably run a good race. And now you see them at champs and you see them in the heats and them look like smooth operator, and you get them in your semi-final. Now you start to think, Lord Jesus, when and they look so good in the semi-final, and now me have to run with him, and him have a fast start, and me not have no start, and him have a better finish, and even though me have a good finish, because him will get it from me in the start. So now they start to overthink. Now they don't remember say them have a race plan. Them not remember them training, because I always say to the boys, training is the act of doing. It's the preparation for. That's why this is where you make your mistakes. This is where we do the corrections. So when we get there, and this is why I said to them, these are called development meets. Development meets. It means you're to develop your strategy, develop your race plan, develop some confidence, you know, in everything you're developing it at the development meets. If you make a mistake, you make it at the development meet, and then you're going to say, oh, that's what I did wrong, and then we fix it in
But,
training.
but the noise around
The
them
noise is
is
a lot
real.
here.
The
The
noise
noise is a
around
lot.
them is real. The noise is real. Social media is real when they see all of these things, and this is why, you know,
And
I keep saying,
I think some of the Jamaican fans lack sensitivity.
yeah,
They
that's for
don't. I don't
sure.
think they understand that at the end of the day, no matter how good an athlete is, they're a human being first, and they have human emotions, and they're going to react. Because some of them is like, they're in this field, so they should. No, not because they're in the field mean you're going to be rude and nasty. Because it affects them, and they're like, why to affect them? Just like if you go to work and your boss says something that you don't like, you're not going to perform to standard.
Yeah, I've heard insensitive fans saying, "Oh, them a celebrity now, or them in the spotlight, so them have to deal with it." And I said, "No, it doesn't mean that as fans we have to be nasty, you
You
know,
can
or
express your
rude."
opinions without being nasty. Nobody
Mhm.
is saying you can't express your opinion or your disappointment, but bordering under the thing of being nasty and disrespectful cannot be acceptable. Because again, I said we don't know what these athletes go through on a day-to-day basis. Many of these athletes that are, especially the ones that are not sponsored, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
The struggle is real, both to feed themselves nutritiously to keep going, because you're putting your body through so much. And then for you then now you have to think about going to the doctor. If you're feeling pain, you have to pay the doctor. Then if you give you a prescription, you have to fill a prescription.
It's
And then you have
real.
to go and
It's
you have to
real.
pay and then you have to pay a physio. And then you have to and then it's a whole lot.
Fans can be very tough. Fans can be harsh. The media can be harsh. And I want to ask you this: how do you keep your boys focus and not concentrate on fans and the media, especially when they're not being sensitive?
Well, for the most part, probably because for our boys, they're used to people being there to watch them train. And what I like about most of the persons that come there is that these boys are used to somebody saying, hey, this not look good. And at the same time, them can tune them out. So they're learning from training to tune you out if they don't want to hear you. I had boys that will literally, you talk to them and they don't hear a word you say. And I have to be like touching them like, hey, they're like, Auntie, me I tune them out, come and I really want to hear them today, Because they have good days and bad days. But they learn, because I said, this is why sometimes I don't mind when they have an audience at training. Because then they learn to grow a thicker skin. Albeit sometimes I don't like it some other time, because it can be distracting too. But that also teach them to concentrate, ignore the noise. But that is just me, and that is just the instance of here. What if I go somewhere else? Then we would have to be having discussion and weekly meetings, and probably get the guidance counselors at the school involved to, help with them and confidence. Because I
I
think
think with
sometimes I think for us though, we need the school to be more involved and the guidance counselors to be more involved. That's
yeah,
me. They
yeah.
need to be more involved in terms of, so I don't know how the principal of the schools would go about doing it, but getting somebody to be there so they can talk to and walk them through their emotions, be it sadness, happiness, whatever it is, walk them through said emotions.
Yeah, psychological preparation is definitely, without a doubt, it is important. It is important. And we have to also remember that these athletes, they are children. And we need them to know how to handle their emotions, how to become emotionally intelligent.
You
So
see,
if,
it's so hard when the wider society, and the wider society is normally the adults, are
yes,
behaving in a manner
yes,
that is not, you
yeah.
know,
A lot of
becoming.
adult fans sometimes can be ruthless
No,
and
and sometimes I'm like, they do realize that these are children, right?
yeah.
They don't realize that these are children. Oh, them have to grow tough. Lord be my guide.
It's
These people.
it's it is crazy,
It's
and
disgraceful.
fans also need to learn how to be sensitive. We need to, well, not even we, because I know how to be sensitive towards the athletes, but people out there, even going back to champs this year with Kimani Gordon, when he had his mishap, I'm still trying to figure out. Sometimes chance is over and everything, and sometimes I think about him and I'm like, how is that young man really coping when because a lot of things were being
You
said
know, I'm
during
glad you
champ
touch on
week.
that, you know.
How
You
did
know,
he
I'm glad you touch
recover?
on that.
How did you help him to recover?
I can't pronounce his name. The young man that ran the 978, the African guy,
Yes, from Kenya.
and going at top speed and drifting into the other young man's lane. And I'm saying these are the professionals. Veronica Campbell Brown did it, and she's a seasoned pro. She
Oh
has been
yes. Oh
running
yes.
with the seniors since she was in high school, and she did it. And
Yep.
you think that a child cannot do it and it can't happen? Not do it, but it happens. I wouldn't say that BCB did it, but it happens.
It happened, yes. It happened in the 200. It happened twice at a major championship.
For BCB, and again, I say it happened for this young man at a meet, and he's a professional. This is not his first or second year being a professional. And I say that to say this. When they look at that, do they then say, come on, come on, it didn't do it deliberately. But even if they want to say it deliberately, I wouldn't even be as mad as the fact that these people are going to sit down, and some of the comments that I saw one person made a comment, and to this day I don't talk to said person, because he's going to tell me that this young man he's going to post on Facebook that Kamani needs to get his head checked out because something is wrong with him.
That was harsh.
This is a parent, and I'm saying you're a parent, and this is the only thing you could think of.
We do not give the children room to make mistakes. Yeah, we don't. We're so critical of them. It is beyond me. It is heartbreaking to see some of the comments when people were saying that he deliberately was trying to sabotage. He is a medal contender. He was a medal contender, and he was trying to sabotage someone who was not a medal contender.
And I keep saying to people too, if you know who that young man is, aggression is the last thing you will get from him.
Well, we saw that because
he did
not even react when he was attacked. He did not.
And because that's just how he is. That's how he was raised, to not give in to negativity. And I said to somebody, we have two persons on the team that I know for sure is like that. One being Kamani Gordon, and the other young man I will not name. But they are not the type. They're not. And as again, it's sports. It happens. Football, people got their legs broken, get their hands broken. It's not deliberate, but it happens. It's sports. It happens.
Man, as coaches, I listening to you, I realize that as coaches, you guys wear many hats. It's not just preparing athletes physically to go out there and compete, but you have to be a nurturer, you have to be a psychiatrist, you have to be their mentor, you have to be their confidant. How do you do it, Alina?
Listen, I have a friend, and when it becomes overbearing for me, I call him and I'm like, listen, you have to take some of this burden. And he's like, why me? I said, well, you won't listen, because it's a lot. It is a lot, because as I said, I have to sit down and I have to listen to some of them and their problems, and some of them, their issues are so bad. It's so bad that if I could, I would. Probably my house would have full up.
Wow.
If I could, I would.
The struggle is real.
And this is the thing, and it's not limited to one school, you know.
I know.
It's a widespread thing where the athletes, we see these athletes compete, and again I say we don't know. Some of them,
and we judge them. We judge them. We're so critical of them.
based on how because
Struggle's real,
he
man.
struggled to come into this new environment and settle in and stuff. And outside of that, many of them, many of them, they don't have any form of support. They don't have a parent to come and say, hey, I'm going to watch a race, or a parent to come and say, hey, may I give you lunch money. Sometimes I don't even think the parents know that they pick them going to school.
Oh my God.
Sometimes they don't even know if the child get a report. It's like the interest is not there. And and then
and the fans sit in the
and we have to take,
stadium.
and we have to go now, and then we have to be there, and we have to be like, all right, I'll give you lunch money, or I'll give you bus fare, or me, I always carry food to work. And you know who ends up getting no food?
Wow.
And sometimes somebody say, well, you don't eat your food. And I said to them, because I can go home and cook. I'm not sure they're going to go home and see anything cooked. So I would rather give them, and which is why we enjoy doing the treats so much. And probably, I will upgrade from from the
From
donuts.
donuts to
From the
KFC.
donuts to like KFC, or make sandwich. Girl, you don't want to see me making sandwich. I'm making sandwiches and stuff like that.
And they're growing boys, so they eat a lot.
And so we try to make sure that we at least know that even if they go home to no dinner, they at least have something in their system.
Wow.
And it's a lot, and it takes its toll on you, because then you're worried about them, and then sometimes you can't help them in the way that you would really want to. And then to come back to training and demand so much from them, and then go to track meet and demand so.
And then people just sit in the
Your
stands
guilt,
and criticize them.
if you are somebody with a conscience, guilt will eat you alive, because you're putting these people through things that them body can't manage, because it's not the body.
Nutrition. How important is nutrition?
All right, outside of psychological thing there, the psychological bit, the nutrition plays one of the major roles, especially after training, because when you work out, your body starts to break down. Now, this is why even having the snacks again, or whatever, something to eat after training is paramount, because you want to have something there to start health with recovery. So the little protein and stuff from whatever, if it's a tuna sandwich, it don't matter. The protein and stuff in the tuna sandwich would help your body not to break down. Because again, if you're not fixing it from early, by the time you get a chance, you will start collapsing. Some people will actually soldier it through. Some people will get hurt. Your body breaks down, because remember, we never come here for run and run so fast like we're cheater or whatever. We didn't come here to do that. So that's why we have to train our body, which means we're putting our body through basically abuse just to get results. So the nutrition now is what helps to stabilize this and fix some of the cracks that are there, and aid with all the recovery. This is where nutrition comes in, and a balanced diet, and especially the athletes, carbohydrates are very good. The yams, the bananas, the sweet potato, that kind of carbohydrates, not the rice and the flour, but the carbohydrates that are good for you. And the fish, especially protein, that are things that are high in protein and carbohydrates. These are the things that, again, you need a balanced diet. How many people can afford a balanced diet? I can't afford a balanced diet.
Girl,
I eat rice and flour with little vegetable thrown every now and again. So and so imagine these persons who can't even come to school with lunch money or bus fare. Which is why I tell people I'd never judge an athlete, be whatever sport it is. Whatever sport it is, I will respect their craft. I will respect what they're doing. Again, we can be disappointed because we're humans, and we expect a certain performance from certain athletes or from Jamaican athletes in general. And when we don't get it, it is okay to be disappointed.
Yeah.
It is not okay, however, to be rude and disrespectful.
And be unkind, yeah. I don't subscribe to that at all. I will always get into.
If you know me, I'm a mama bear to my boys. So if you want to see my fans You try them. I don't care how well thing you think you're being. No, it's not going to fly. And you're going to be upset with me, but it's rather you upset than they are. I don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as adults, we need to do better.
We don't
Adult
know our limits,
fans,
man. They don't know their limits. They don't know their limits.
As adult fans, we really have to do better because a lot of our athletes are coming from humble.
Jamaican fans are such hypocrites because they will get up in arms the moment somebody mention one of our athletes. But who tears down other countries' athletes like we do? America and them describe the American athletes however they see fit. And they will call names and they will at said athlete or athletes and say whatever is on their mind. And the moment an American fan or an American athlete responds, listen, come down with brimstone and fire, man.
I know.
So I'm saying to them, we are not free from criticism. You cannot throw stone and then hide your hand. You cannot come for me and then when I respond, you're going to come and behave like I am not supposed to respond. My friend always say when they go low, you go high. But sometimes the people them have to go low with them because they will not stop. They're relentless. And these people have feelings.
We need to do better as fans. I keep saying we because I'm not really not a part. I am not a part of this. I do not subscribe.
And yeah, that means that I'm not a part. I will not get on social media. I will not get on social media and be like, oh, no. Even if I will tell you, Edda, that I am not a fan of said athlete, but I will cheer for said athlete.
Yeah. I'm not going to ridicule
because once you're representing Jamaica, I will cheer for you. That don't mean because some of the time we say we don't like an athlete, we don't know the person.
Yeah.
But my spirit not take them. I'll take your spirit somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm not into ridiculing and bashing and criticizing and tearing down. No, that's not my thing. And I tell people a lot of times, and of course, people will justify it by saying, "Oh, they're in the public eyes, and then better deal with it." No, it doesn't mean that we have to be nasty to them. We can be kind with our criticism and all of that because really and truly, our athletes, the majority of our athletes are from humble beginning. Humble beginning, and we need to support them.
I'm trying to find the 1%.
that is not. Yeah, I totally agree. I
mean the athletes that transition because when you get to the high school level, you will have those that are actually on the more privileged side. But with the transition, I am trying to figure out who wasn't from the more.
Yep, you are right. We need to do better though. But in closing, how do you stay up to date with the latest best practices and the sciences of coaching and human body and all of that? Twitter? Okay. Well, fair enough.
And I have a mentor of sorts, Mr. Jolly.
Nice.
Everything that comes out, he tags me in it, or he sends it to my email or something. But then I'm also active. I'm so active that I'll be there researching. Like, how do you whatever you want to type in your search engine, I'll be there searching and keeping up to date. And which is why I follow most of the trap meets to see what are these people doing, how are they, improving. And then I would probably try to see if I can even see one of their workouts and stuff like that. Plus, again, I also get emails from the World Athletics Association whatever changes is taking place. So, I have those meetings, but it's mainly on Twitter.
Last question.
It's mainly Mr. Jolly who ensures that I see these things if I'm not.
Teamwork. Last question. Would you coach any other sport? Would you leave track and field for another sport?
No. I love football, but no. No, I don't know. You see, I grew up with track and field. I've known nothing else. Play like football here and there, but I've known nothing else. I grew up with my mommy having newspaper clippings of the mutual games and stuff under her bed. I grew up with, and I think there was a athletic book. I think it was 1996 or something like that, that tells you all the records and stuff. My mom had that, and we would go through it sometime and try to see if who knows what and who don't know what, and you know. And then when I got to Camperdown, I remember loving track and field, but only wanting to run with the boys. Because that's what I'm more comfortable with. And I remember saying to myself, why you know say we can't be a star? But that didn't work out between accidents and everything that took place, over my high school years. But then when I stopped running, I started helping out the male team that had Ronaldo Rose running, and I would be on the bus going up there with the team and, getting that experience outside of actually being an athlete. And I'm like, something like that, something here. I even go on job interviews, and I remember going on the last job interview I went on, I think. No, I went on 2 job interviews. And in both of the interviews, are like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm like, you want me to answer this honestly, or you want me to answer it professionally? And this honestly, I said, being a track and field coach. And they're like, you don't see yourself here in 5 years? I said, you asked me, and I'm being honest.
You speak it into being. I did say it was my last question, but I have to ask you another question. Do you think you would ever coach pro athletes? Would you ever go pro?
This is a hard one because the children mean so much to me in terms of helping them, not even take track and field out of it, helping them move forward in life. That if I am to leave that means I'm leaving child or children that would need that guidance. And because I knew what it's like to not have something and to work hard. And I said to somebody, if I can be a positive change for even one child, I want to keep doing that. But going pro is a bit, because again, my aim is to be one of the best middle distance coaches, long middle distance, and to have Jamaica be there and be a part of that. So I guess it will come eventually, but for now, I am kind of just more focusing on working with these athletes. It's funny enough, even though I work at a all boys school, I have children from Excelsior. I have children. Sometimes I can't remember the school name, but literally almost all the schools you can think of. Well, not all the schools, because I can't remember the names of some of the schools, but I have children from all the schools. Still all my boys, I'm like, auntie, everybody I call you auntie. Tell her this, tell them forget them own auntie. And they'll be complaining that they're tired of sharing and stuff like that. But pro, I will look into it. Because I think that requires more focus in terms of, not that it's not focus for the high school, but when I say more focus, I mean the requirements that a senior need will be different from what a junior needs. So now I have to be doing the transition, going back and forth. So then I have to be sure that this is something I want first. But I will give it a try.
Okay, sounds fair, because as you rightfully say, and I totally agree with you, I want to see us on the podium at the highest level, at the World Championship and at the Olympics,
yes.
because we have done it before. We have done
And
it. We did it in 1948.
We have the quality.
We have the product. We have the raw product to do it. We just need to put the product through some what you call it, some processing in order to get that finished product. But I think we can do it, because champs is where all of our athletes started out, whether they won there or they run there and come last or whatever. They all came through that system. Yeah. And we've seen 800-meter runners, we've seen 1500-meter runner, but I think we need to start something to attract them. I don't think they're just like some of the field events, like the javelin, but this is for another discussion. Things like the javelin, pole vault, and those things. Athletes do them at champs to get points for their school. But by the time we get to the Carifta, which is the next level from high school, we can't compete. We are not in the lineup for the javelin and, the pole vault. So that's for another chat.
We do just enough
Yeah, we
to,
do
to
enough
get
to
the
get the
chance.
points, just to
Yep.
get, yes. But there is life, and I will keep saying this, there is life after champs. You know, champs is just, as you would said earlier, the development phase to get to the other level.
Yeah.
But
It's a
Alina,
stepping stone. It's just a stepping stone.
it is where you start. It is where you get on your mark. That is just where you get on your mark. Not even set, but on your mark. Alina Wright, coach of boys. Thank you very much, my friend. Yes, Alina is my
Alina Wright,
friend.
coach. Alina Wright might coach girls soon.
Yeah, go for it, girl. Go for it. And Alina, thank you very much. You've shed some light on a lot of things, a lot of areas, and thank you very much. And I look forward to having more chats with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you, Tia, for pushing me.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.